Minister.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I would like to start by saying what an honour it is to close this debate, and I would like to thank every member of this House who has attended and contributed today to raise issues, highlight successes and reflect just how much women have and will continue to contribute to our country and to the rest of the world. We've had some fantastic speeches, too many to mention all of them, but I just want to highlight a few. The Honourable Member for Mid Derbyshire made the local connection with Florence Nightingale with her groundbreaking work she did, and as a fellow nurse, she's a personal heroine of mine, and we do find ourselves today following the strict hand-washing rules that she set out many years ago. We had a fantastic maiden speech from the Honourable Member for Poplar and Limehouse. It's such an honour that she chose this debate in which to make her maiden speech, and we can see already she will be a force to reckon with in this place and will keep the East End firmly on the map. My neighbour, the Honourable Member for Eastbourne, highlighted what a hard-working local MP she is by bringing Langley Primary School into this place with their Equality Day. And as she pointed out, she is Eastbourne's first woman MP again. The Honourable Member for Canterbury talked about misogyny and the effect this can have, and the pariah tank of social media, which I think we've all experienced, to be fair. The Honourable Member for Thurrock highlighted how few men have come to support this debate, and we hope to see more next year. However, she did point out in her rather sassy speech that we could just do fine without them. But I do note, however, that the male members of the Whip's office have appeared on the bench, which I think is here to support me. And my friend, the Honourable Member for Meon Valley, highlighted the plight, as many honourable members did, for human rights defenders in other countries who find themselves in prison for doing the simple things that we take for granted in this country. And the Honourable Member for Kingston upon Hull North asked a number of questions, and particularly around Iranian prisoners. I know the Leader of the House made an announcement this morning that there may be some positive news on that, but on the particular Foreign Office issues that she raised, I hope she doesn't mind if I speak to the Foreign Secretary and then get back to her on those particular issues. There are so many great advocates for equality of opportunity and treatment of women in this chamber, and I just want to thank them all for the excellent work that they do. As the Secretary of State said in her opening remarks, the theme for this year is for International Women's Day is Each for Equal, where women want to achieve a gendered equal world. And we are making progress on that right here in Parliament. And only a few short months ago in 2019 with the general election, and I'm sure we all have our own views regarding the result, but I think we've all mentioned how delighted we are to have more women MPs in this place than ever before. There are now 220 women MPs in Parliament. That's 34%, up from 22% in 2010. And while that's not the height of our ambition for the number of female MPs, it does show we are making progress. But I do agree with the Right Honourable Member for Basingstoke that while we have made progress in getting more female candidates, we have more work to do in retaining excellent female MPs. We lost far too many in all sides at the last election. And as she rightly said, it's a responsibility for all MPs to play our part in doing that. In what the Prime Minister has named as the People's Government, a government more reflective of the people it serves, I'm proud to stand as an example of that at this dispatch box, as the second female in my family to have worked in the House of Commons, because my aunt worked in this place as a waitress in the members' dining room back in the 60s, when there were just 26 female MPs, and when someone from my background would never have made it as an MP. And I'm only standing at this dispatch box today, Mr Deputy Speaker, because I'm covering the maternity leave of the feisty and inspirational Honourable Member for Saffron Walden, the Minister for Equalities, who is on maternity leave. Before entering this place, she worked in engineering, as a financier and in journalism, a real positive role model for our young women of today, demonstrating that this is a government from all walks of life. Mr Deputy Speaker, International Women's Day is primarily a day of celebration, and we've certainly heard speeches today that offer a huge amount of hope for the future and demonstrate that in many areas we are making real progress towards a fairer society. And as the Right Honourable Member for Basingstoke and the Shadow Minister pointed out, it is right that this is debated in government time. However, we have also heard appalling details of inequality for a number of speakers and clear evidence of the prejudices that women and girls still face. We all, as we are every year, were moved by the speech by the Honourable Member for Birmingham Yardley. And it's tragic that the number of women killed by domestic violence has increased this year. The government is serious about tackling this, and I'm pleased that only this week we reintroduced our landmark domestic abuse bill, which includes a number of changes to the bill introduced in the last Parliament. The changes include a new duty on Tier 1 local authorities in England to provide support to domestic abuse victims and their children in refuges and other safe accommodation. And we continue to progress the non-legislative work to support the bill as it comes forward. The Shadow Minister touched on finance around this bill, and this government has committed £100 million of funding to combat violence against women and girls, including £20 million for domestic abuse, and is piloting an integrated domestic abuse court to support victims. The government is also taking seriously to help victims of domestic abuse, female genital mutilation and forced marriage and stalking. And I want to congratulate the Right Honourable Member for Romsey and Southampton North on her work when she was a minister on FGM. She is right. It is child abuse and it is illegal. Now, there were questions around the Istanbul Convention by a number of members. And I just want to reassure them that the government remains committed to ratifying the convention as soon as possible. And the domestic abuse bill contains necessary measures to satisfy the requirements of the convention in respect of ensuring that the criminal courts in England and Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland have the required extraterritorial jurisdiction over certain violent and sexual offences as required by Article 44. The Northern Ireland Minister for Justice has also announced her intention to bring before the Assembly legislation which would criminalise psychological violence in Northern Ireland as required by Article 33. And had not the general election come late last year, we would be far further down the line of ratifying the Istanbul Convention, and I hope members will agree that the government is absolutely committed to making sure that happens. I recognise that there are a range of issues identified by members today which negatively impact women in the workplace. And we are developing further guidance to support employers to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. And I'm proud to say that the Whip's office, the whole of the Whip's office this week, took part in Parliament's Valuing Everyone training, which covers sexual harassment in the workplace. And if honourable and right honourable members have not undertaken this training, I would urge them to do so, as we all have a responsibility to do our part in calling it out and preventing sexual harassment in the workplace. There is a waiting list for training, so please do get your name put forward as soon as possible. This government is also serious about tackling the gender pay gap, which I know a number of members mentioned in their speeches. And actually, it was this Conservative government that brought in the regulations back in 2017. And the gender pay gap is at a record low of 17.3%, and reporting for this year is due in March and April, and I'm hoping that we will see a further improvement this year. But can I remind members that equal pay has been a legal requirement since 1970. Last year, we made a commitment to review the enforcement of the equal pay legislation, and I hope that we see an improvement from companies around the country as the figures around the gender pay gap come forward.
My honourable friend give way on that.
I will.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way, and she's making a really strong summing up speech, and I congratulate her on that. In her contribution at the end, the lady who's leading for the opposition said that equal pay should be a matter for the government, legally for the matter for the government. It already is. We already have that legislation there. Surely, would she agree with me? It's a matter for enforcement, and that's the Equality and Human Rights Commission's role, and they should be doing more of it.
Well, I thank my right honourable friend for that intervention, because she is quite right. It is already law, and we need to enforce it to make sure that it absolutely happens. The government is continuing to show leadership in a multiple fora, such as the UN, the Commonwealth, the G7, G20, OECD and the Council of Europe, as well as in our bold initiatives such as the International LGBT Conference, which we are proud to be running in May. I personally welcome one of the Prime Minister's top priorities, that girls around the world should receive 12 years of quality education, tackling the obstacles that girls and young women face across the world, and which was so eloquently highlighted by the Honourable Member for Meon Valley. This government is also committed to creating a society that works for everyone. The female employment rate is at a near record high of 72.4%, and just under 2 million more women are in work than since 2010. We continue to support families with their childcare costs, and the government has invested £6.6 million to support carers to remain in or to return to work. And the government will be bringing forward a plan for social care this year to introduce a dedicated entitlement to leave for unpaid carers to 1 week per year, alongside existing employment rights. Mr Deputy Speaker, I will finish by saying that I am proud to have been part of the debate that has taken place here today, and once again would like to thank every member of the House who has participated. It is evident that there is more to be done at home and abroad, but we know we are going in the right direction. As we mark International Women's Day this week, it is right that we celebrate our achievements and look at how far we have come. With more women in work than ever before, including more at the very top than ever before, we can be proud of the progress of the last 12 months. Britain has long been a world leader in championing equality of treatment and opportunity both at home and abroad. 50 years ago, the introduction of the Equal Pay Act in the United Kingdom turned on its head outdated ideas of what a woman's role can be. Today, women are competing alongside men in all sorts of arenas that were once considered the sole preserve of men, whether they be engineers, para-commanders, or indeed darts players. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, as this may be my one and only appearance at the dispatch box, I'm going to be cheeky and use an excellent example of this from my own constituency in Lewes, where Lewes Football Club, and I declare an interest as a community shareholder, have led the world in being the first ever football club to pay their female footballers the same as their men. I'm therefore proud of all the progress we've seen, and having left the European Union, I'm determined that the UK will continue to blaze a trail for the empowerment of women and girls, and to celebrate their successes all over the world. Because I strongly believe that greater freedom to pursue our own future as a country will be better for all of us. And when we break down the barriers people face in the workplace, society in different parts of the country, we all benefit. It is clear from what we have heard in this House today that we all share this commitment to change and to working together to ensure that no one is held back because of their sex or any other factor. In this country, whoever we are and wherever we come from, we will have the opportunities to challenge outdated ways of doing things, set new records and fulfil our full potential, inspiring the next generation of girls whose success simply cannot depend on anything other than their skills, ambition and determination. And with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish everyone a happy International Women's Day this Sunday.
Thank you.